Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, PayPal is no longer acceptable on Steam. Dialup is finally officially dead. AMD is looking really good as all their numbers start coming in. Roblox is banning whistleblowers on a pedophile problem, and the UK government has asked you to delete your emails to save water. All that insanity and more today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, North Soy. I'm good, this is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. We've got a lot to talk about this week. Of course, we didn't have a podcast last week. Unfortunately, while my own apartment didn't get affected by the historic flooding that occurred, my place of work, my livelihood did. And most of Sunday, and in fact, this whole past week has been spent recovering from that. We didn't get it as bad as some, but it is still absolutely catastrophic damage. Fortunately, though, no one is ill or injured or anything as a result of it so far. So everything's looking good there. While I've been away for a week, though, a lot has happened, and we need to get caught up on all of it. Some of course, we've kind of trimmed down some of the stuff that's not nearly as essential. But of course, the big talk in the gaming space right now is kind of the ongoing issue with payment providers. So let's quickly get up to speed, because I don't remember how much we did talk about and how much we didn't. First off, there is an Australian activist organization called Collective Shout. They operate basically on pedo logic, in the fact that they claim to stand for women's rights and basically go ahead and exclusively target media they don't completely understand and just want to just be complete dicks about. Their whole push in the past has been about trying to get various video games banned based on their disrespect of women, one of which being Stellar Blade in the past. And it turned out that, well, really, you could argue there's some stuff that's kind of risque in Stellar Blade, like every single outfit. But to say it's exploitative of women like they're trying to say it is, and unrealistic and everything, it's not. They even explicitly hired a model to model the design for it. It's also hard to take a organization like Collective Shout, who has publicly supported a very, very awful Netflix movie called Cuties that is extremely exploitative of small girls. They stand in support of that, but your video games, no, that's exploiting. So yeah, we're dealing with actual clowns, and unfortunately, MasterCard and Visa apparently did not need a whole lot of motivation to go ahead and try to ban anything, because Collective Shout went to MasterCard and Visa and said, you need to go ahead and block all these hundreds upon hundreds of games from being sold because they're exploitive to women and children, when in fact, most of which were just adult themed, and some of them were completely safe for work. No vetting was done whatsoever. MasterCard even came out and tried to say that we only block things that are against the law. It could then be later be proven that many of the games that were being blocked from being processed by MasterCard did not violate any laws whatsoever. It is also arguable from a legal standpoint, MasterCard has no business deciding what is and isn't illegal. Normally, that is the job of, I don't know, law enforcement? Maybe? Just a little? Now, it's not just MasterCard and Visa. PayPal was also blocking some transactions. Well, the new news, and this is actually only a couple of days old now, the new news is the fact that PayPal 100% has stopped processing all payments for Steam. Steam being the biggest PC gaming platform in the world. Of course, there are other methods to pay on Steam, but PayPal, what for the longest time and still is to this day considered the gold standard in trustworthy payment processors, is just deciding to just ruin what reputation they have among both young adults and, well, teenagers, really. The gaming crowd now knows PayPal just hates them. PayPal just said, yeah, no, we're done, simply because these not safe for work games exist. I don't get why a company like PayPal would do this. Like, I want you to think about this from PayPal's point of view. Okay? You are the gold standard in trusted payment processors. You have gained the majority mindshare for being the go-to place to have a safe, consumer-friendly transaction. You had some weird things go on in the past. You had the honey scandal, which, yeah, that probably wasn't a very wise decision. Yeah, you had the crypto thing, but that somehow blew over. You go and poke the hive, you make mistakes, and you kind of just shrug them off. But for the most part, your reputation still stands. So why on earth would you take your fist and shove it into a hornet's nest and then say, look what I did? What are you thinking? The best thing you have going for you is your reputation. Why you continue to take a shotgun and shoot yourself in the foot? I hope you're ready for this. Is going to be a running theme, by the way, this entire episode. The imagery of taking a fist and shoving it into a hornet's nest or blowing your own foot off with a shotgun. Because, like, this was the thing. You have the mind share. So why on earth would you want to pull out to what? Make a stand? About what? About what some whiny, freaking hypocritical nothings over in Australia trying to go ahead and censor things because it gets their jollies off to make a statement to those idiots? Like, this is what I really don't get. Every single one of these groups, every single one of these payment processors, every single one of them that want to go ahead and just show how good a person they are to activist groups like Collective Shout, what are you getting out of it? You're watching as a bunch of activists try to decide for the rest of an entire country what they can and can't do, and catching far, far, far more legal strays than actual bad actors. I'm sure some of the games that have been pulled thanks to Collective Shout were horrendously bad. I'm sure they exist. I can't confirm it because they're gone. So I'm going to give these moronic activists, who, by the way, still support the movie Cuties, a movie about underage beauty pageants, ew, all that wonderful jazz that comes with that. That group, we're going to trust that group over everyone else. It is staggering how much these payment processors just decided to bow at the altar of these morons and piss off all of gaming. I know gaming is not exactly a large slice of the population in the world, but I guarantee you this, they outnumber Collective Shout by a factor of what? 10,000, 100,000, million? A percentage so high that only a moron would want to go ahead and catch that much flack. So I guess that means that MasterCard and Visa are incredibly, incredibly stupid, and that PayPal is now the dumbest of them all. Good job. Good job, PayPal. You did it. You got everyone mad. Great job. By the way, some other horrible Steam news. I know this is going to come as a massive blow to many gamers out there. This is going to be incredibly tragic news for all gamers out there. Google is ending support for Steam on the Chromebooks starting next year. I know. Cloud gaming will never recover. And there's going to be all 12 users out there that use their Chromebook to remote into a real computer that will now never be able to do so starting next year. I know. It's so tragic. I had to lighten the mood somehow. But yeah, Steam for Chrome OS is going to be fading away. Honestly, real talk, there's one of two reasons that's possibly going to be why this is happening. All right, let's take all my Chromebook bias about how it's not a valid computer out of the way. All right, there's two reasons. A, the actual cloud gaming client needs more compute power than Chromebooks are capable of, and thus support potentially has to end just because of that. Or B, and honestly, I think is the far more likely reason, is the fact that Google has been rumored to be transitioning away from Chrome OS as a whole to either using straight Android or a new entirely different operating system that's going to be more Android-like and more of a real operating system than Chrome OS was. I think that's what's really about to happen. It's going to be a lot less of the, oh, well, Chromebooks suck because they're not a real computer. Well, you're correct, by the way, dumb sounding voice. But I do believe it's because Chrome OS is being retired soon. We're probably actually going to hear more about that. When was Google I.O. actually? Probably hear more about it at Google I.O. next year, to be perfectly honest. I think we're already past Google I.O. this year. Time has been flying this year. Let me tell you. It's back to school season already. Kids are already going back to school. Where did the time go? I want it back. How do I collect time? Do I get like a fishing net? Is that how it works? In non-Chromebook related news, Twitch is cracking down on view bots. The company itself has said that they are implementing a new method for detecting and shutting down artificial viewers. And if you were using artificial or inflated viewer numbers, you will see an impact, warned Dan Clancy. You know what's hilarious? What's hilarious is the fact that my Twitter page on the right-hand side, Final Fantasy 14 not safe for work, is trending, which is already pretty funny. But second, and the far more important thing, people who actually track the numbers only saw dips on certain accounts for 1 day. Which means either A, Twitch only ran this new method for a day, saw the massive dip in views on their biggest streamers, and then took it away silently and said, oh, you're fine. Or the actual view botters themselves found a way around the new way to block view bots in less than 24 hours. By the way, there were some nasty rumors going around about this crackdown. One of which was that it was allegedly not going to count lurkers. Meaning that if you were someone who just sat in the chat and never chatted, like you just went ahead and put on a stream and then went to do something else, it would not count you as a viewer. I never got a chance to run a sophisticated experiment to confirm if this was true. Here's what I will tell you. I do know a couple of streamers that lurkers are in fact the backbone of their entire community, that they have maybe a grand total of a dozen active chatters, and the other 90 to 100 people that are in their chat are just lurkers. They just put it on the background and just continue doing work otherwheres and just let it go. Their view counts did not drop at all. So I feel pretty confident the rumors saying that lurkers basically no longer function on Twitch, I think that is complete bunk. Someone in chat asked a sophisticated run. When do we ever do that? It would not actually be that hard. All right. All you'd have to do, make an account no one knows exists, run a really popular game so no one can find you, grab your phone, disconnect it from Wi-Fi, have it watch the stream, have it never say anything, see if it's counted as a view. That's all you have to do. The most sophisticated thing about that is just setting up, you know, a new account to stream, and also being willing to stream League of Legends. Streaming League of Legends would be the hardest part, honestly. Let's be perfectly honest. That game is hard to stream and stay sane. Mostly because it involves infecting your computer with a virus known as League of Legends. Friends don't let friends install League of Legends. It's not good for the hard drive. Speaking of hard drives and other things that are obsolete, a moment of silence as AOL dial-up internet is now finally officially being sunsetted. AOL, who I am surprised still offers dial-up internet, will no longer be offering dial-up internet as of September 30th, 2025. It's going to finally happen. It's going to no longer exist. The option was never going to be. All right, let's be honest, though. I would say, what, 90% of households out there are actually physically incapable of having dial-up internet. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. You have to think about this for a minute. To use dial-up internet, you need an analog landline. Almost everyone that has a home phone of some kind is actually using a VoIP system that is also provided through their ISP, or they just have a cell phone. In fact, here at Studio El Falcon, which is Spanish for the Falcon, it's just my cell phone. That's it. There is no there is no phone line here at all. I don't even think there's phone jacks in this apartment at all. I'd have to go and double check to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it's just cable connections, and that's literally it. Someone in chat asked the real question is, how is this still a thing at this point? If you ever wonder how legacy technology is still a thing, it is always one of two answers. One, large industrial systems, or two, there we go. Someone had the correct answer in chat. Rural areas out on the countryside. That is most likely where you're going to find dial-up still exists in some households. Now, those places most likely do have access to high-speed DSL or some kind of cable provider. I doubt they have a fiber connection. Though, not going to lie, living out on the countryside, maybe not having a farm to maintain, that'd be kind of the sucky part. But just kind of like being off on your own, just being away from it all in the peaceful world and having fiber internet, man, that'd be awesome. But I'm also the weirdo that enjoys driving long stretches, so, you know, that's just me. But yeah, dial-up dead, rip, never forget, rip and spaghetti, all that jazz. And in fact, at this point, we're going to go ahead and take our first break early. When we come back, I want to talk about Intel and AMD, and specifically some things that the government is saying about Intel. Don't go anywhere. We will be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. All right, so I have some breaking news, although it's not really that breaking. It's just breaking to me. It's literally like just crossed my radar during the break while I was in the bathroom. But I digress. A while back, an organization known as Ofcom went ahead and filed a case. And this was specifically to look into the everyone's favorite message board of, how would you describe 4chan? How would you describe 4chan? The message board of being the most proactive, minding their own business that ever existed, of which the people that are the most harmful to is themselves. 4chan is always just such a fascinating entity. There's so much history and idiocy contained within 4chan. They can be the strongest force in the internet when they want to, but most of the time they are just pissing in an ocean of piss. That is a real term used on there, by the way. I am not making that up. One might describe that being just pissing in an ocean of piss. But in any case, Ofcom wants to investigate 4chan for, quote, failure to respond to a statutory information request, failure to complete and keep a record of suitable and sufficient legal content risk assessment, and non-compliance with the safety duties about illegal content. So Ofcom, this organization, I want to stress this is not even, to my knowledge, like a governmental body of the UK. They're just an organization that all they do is complain to the government. That's all they do. Man, we're dealing with a lot of those lately, actually. The news, however, because you can see here, this was filed way back in June 10th, and nobody cared, because you're complaining about 4chan. That's going to have the same effectiveness about me complaining about the coyotes that live in the woods across the street. No one's going to do anything. Well, the news is the fact that there is now a response. And this is going to sound, first off, just this statement alone sounds comical. There has been a response from the 4chan legal team. No, the 4chan legal team is not a body pillow and a cutout of a Toho character. But if you ask me that, that is what I would have assumed the 4chan legal team actually was. No, the 4chan legal team actually is represented by Barney and Storm, attorneys at law, which I've also most likely mispronounced. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to pronounce Byrne. Byron? Might be Byron and Storm. That actually sounds correct. But in any case, now Barney and Storm, one law firm, as well as Coleman Law, another law firm. This is two separate law firms. I don't want to stress this because someone in chat said it's only two attorneys. No. It's two law firms with attorneys. Also, fun fact, I recently learned, you know, an attorney is actually considered higher than a lawyer? Did not know that. I just thought they were synonyms for each other. But no, actually an attorney is a more certified lawyer for more localized laws, but still has all the powers of a regular lawyer. Fun thing I learned. Anyway, I am being corrected that it is Burn and Storm. You know what? Now knowing that it's Burn and Storm, attorneys at law representing 4chan, you know, that is oddly fitting. In any case, they have released the following statement. According to the press report, the UK Office of Communications, Ofcom, let me interject. All right. I'll correct my record then, because I'm not in familiar things. Apparently, Ofcom actually is a UK office. I was under the impression they were an organization. That is my fault. I admit this all just crossed my radar literally 3 minutes ago. That's my bad. Actually, we were recording for 7 minutes since the break. So this crossed me 3 minutes before I went back. Anyway, I digress. All right, Ofcom actually is an official office of the UK. All right. According to the press reports, the UK Office of Communications, Ofcom, has issued a provisional notice under the Online Safety Act alleging a contravention by 4chan by indicating an intention to impose a penalty of 20,000 British pounds plus daily penalties afterwards. 4chan is a United States company incorporated in Delaware with no establishment assets or operations in the United Kingdom. Any attempt to impose or enforce penalties against 4chan will be resisted in U.S. federal courts. In short, get dunked on. The statement continues. American businesses do not surrender their First Amendment rights because a foreign bureaucrat sends an email. Under settled principles of U.S. law, American courts will not enforce foreign penal fines or censorship codes. If necessary, we will seek appropriate relief in U.S. federal courts to confirm these principles. The United States federal authorities have been briefed on this matter. To Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was reportedly warned by the White House to cease targeting Americans with UK censorship codes, according to reporting in the Telegraph on July 30th. Despite these warnings, Ofcom continues its illegal campaign of harassment against American technology firms. A political solution to this matter is urgently required, and that solution must come from the highest levels of the American government. We call on the Trump administration to invoke all diplomatic and legal levers available to the United States to protect American companies from extraterritorial censorship mandates. Our client reserves all rights. In short, piss off. Also, set the record straight. No, I do not sit on the toilet looking at 4chan. I sit on the toilet looking at Twitter. It's almost as bad. Okay, it's just as bad. You know what? Depending on the board, actually looking at 4chan might be better. Now that I think about it. Someone in chat asked, what about Tumblr? Man, I don't think I've ever actually browsed Tumblr. Anytime I come across Tumblr, it's because someone sent me a thing saying, look at this cute comic on Tumblr. Or check this artwork out. I posted it on Tumblr. I don't think I've ever actively gone to Tumblr and actively browsed. Also, by the by, someone in chat mentions that 4chan's fighting back while other companies are bowing down to the UK law. Things might be different for those other companies. Like, for example, I know Discord is complying with the UK law. Discord has assets in the United Kingdom. They have to comply with the law there. 4chan, on the other hand, does not. They operate exclusively in the United States. They say just in Delaware, but we'll just assume they have other backups outside of Delaware. We'll just assume that. Someone's asked it would be easier just to geo-block the UK. You know, I wouldn't say it would be easier. It would be cheaper. And honestly, in the case of 4chan also has just the moral kind of mindset to go ahead and fight something like this. They 100% would. Like, this is no surprise at all that they would go ahead and do this, just because 4chan is their 4chan. This is how they operate. Do they have some boards on there? Do they have some bad actors on their website? Oh, of course. Is there terrible things that go on there? Of course. I will say this. Say what you will about 4chan. They do have better moderation than Roblox. Don't worry. We'll get to the Roblox story later. But you know, we do got to give 4chan credit. They do moderate better than multi-dollar companies. All right, let's actually go to the Intel stuff I first teased. So let's go over the history of Intel very, very briefly. So Intel for the longest time was top dog in the CPU space, right? Ever since the NetBurst architecture got replaced with I forgot what Woodcrest, I think it is. Whatever architecture replaced NetBurst, the first core CPUs. Ever since then, Core Solo, then Core Duo, then Core 2 Duo, then Core 2 Quads, then Core 2 Extremes, and then eventually Nehalem with the Core i7 and such. Intel was the king of the CPU. They got complacent for a very long time and let themselves rot at the top until AMD finally kicked their butt with Ryzen. And then Intel went through CEO after CEO after CEO to get themselves out of their rut. And for the most part, each CEO was just playing it conservatively. They were playing it very safely. They don't want to take any risks. Then they hired a CEO known as Gelsinger. Gelsinger was a former Intel engineer. Gelsinger actually had bold plans for the company, and that was to invest a lot of their money on creating chip fab sites, a very costly investment, as well as trying to double and triple down on their engineering designs to get themselves back on top. He was leading Intel not into a holding pattern to try and stay sustainable, but to go ahead, take a risk with the company, and invest back into itself. He got about a year, maybe 2, before he was canned. And another businessman was put in, and that businessman has been in charge of, I already forgot his name. And that guy has been cutting back on what Gelsinger was trying to do and has been laying off tons of people within Intel, trying to get the company back into the black and downsizing the company massively. So you had one guy trying to go in, have the company reinvest into itself to put itself in a much better place in the near future. For the two of you that actually understand sports, this would be like letting your star players go to free up money to hire rookies to train the rookies to be the future of your team. It's a common practice in sports, by the way. It's rebuilding the team. Your team's going to suck for a couple of years, but if you go ahead and play everything correctly, make sure you got a good crew training these rookies, and you go pick the right rookies, the ones that show talent, and you believe that with your coaching team can have them be, top tier, you end up with some stars. You end up with talent like Tom Brady. You end up with Aaron Rodgers before he went ahead and did a bunch of drugs. You end up with like we in the Packers have right now. You end up with Jordan Love, who actually shows decent promise after a rebuilding phase. It's normal in sports. I'm sorry, football's the only sport I know. The new CEO went ahead, stopped that in its tracks to go ahead and try to just get some slight profits now. And I'm not going to lie, it's making Intel right now look like they are on the verge of collapse. And I hate to say this, but I got to agree with the tweet I'm about to show you. Mr. Donald Trump went ahead and tweeted out on not Twitter that, quote, the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. Thank you for your attention to this problem. I hate this because I actually agree with this 100%, which then makes me rethink everything. But yeah, no, what's currently going on at Intel is actually a shame because the current CEO of Intel is looking to cut back everything. And Intel is on the verge of something great. You've got the CPU market, you got their CPUs starting to show some signs of life, and they're not going ahead and putting out defective product in the form of the 13th and 14th generation, the ones that are cooking themselves. We're finally getting past that problem. They're starting to develop some decent AI chips. They were working on tons of US chip fabrication, trying to go ahead and get the US no longer dependent on TSMC and Taiwan, trying to get everyone no longer addicted to that one company making all the chips for the world. We're getting closer to getting to that, not perfectly, but would have been a solution. No, current CEO says no. Stop the construction, get away from that. So what's Intel going to do? What's anyone going to do? Because I want you to think about something. Okay. What happens if Intel collapses? If Intel collapses, this means all x86 compute exclusively comes out of AMD, which AMD makes a good product, let's be honest. The problem is that AMD competitively already shows signs of being very pro oligopoly pricing, meaning they are not afraid to not be competitive at all as far as pricing and let prices run crazy. Look at the GPU market right now out of AMD. Is there any GPU that AMD sells that is a no-brainer to buy that over the NVIDIA one? No. NVIDIA is price gouging like nobody's business, and AMD is trying to price gouge with them. You know, oddly enough, the one company in the GPU space that isn't price gouging, it's Intel, with their highest end GPU being only $250 and being comparable to the 3050. I'm sorry, not the 3050, the 4050. In any case, it's not the most powerful GPU in the world, but holy cow, is it a bargain compared to whatever the heck Intel and, or whatever, habit right there, whatever the heck NVIDIA and AMD are doing. You think with Intel gone that those cost-effective Ryzen chips wouldn't double in price? We're already seeing those chips go up faster in price. AMD is already taking advantage of the fact they have a good spot in the market, and they are milking that for all it's worth. Oh God, are they milking that for all it's worth? So it's no surprise when you look at the chip market right now. And by the way, before you go, oh, well, it doesn't matter, everything would go AMD, that's fine. I guarantee you, more and more people would start going ARM. Data centers and whatnot, all the Intel chips are gone. All right, fine. Next cycle, we're going to look at ARM instead. If we gotta change chips anyway, why not look at the new hotness? And the hottest ARM chips, not in the USA. That's why there's also news that the Trump administration is currently talking about taking a stake in Intel. Now, putting my political beliefs aside, putting away my feelings about this administration, let's take away the word Trump. Replace it with any other word. I don't care whether you put Biden administration, Clinton administration, Bush administration, put the Smith administration in there for all it matters. Should the US government take a stake in Intel to keep it alive? I would need to know the exact details first, but my first instinct is no. I get why the thought crosses their mind. I get why this is an attractive idea for the government to do. I just gave a whole spiel on all the bad things it would mean if Intel went under because it is being mismanaged to nobody's. It's being taken from a rebuild into a nosedive for the sole purpose of getting numbers back into the black rather than trying to build a future for the company. Now there's no future and you cut off your leg. So not a fan of this, but this is the dire state that Intel is in right now. And it's not all that long ago that Intel was absolutely the champion. Someone in chat says Eagle Falcon for president 2028. I'm barely handling a dry cleaners. What the heck makes you think I would make a good president? That is the dumbest thing I have seen today. I'll probably see something dumber tomorrow. That is definitely the dumbest thing for the day. When someone in chat says can't do worse than Trump, never. Here's some life advice for you. Okay. Never, ever, 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 ever think that any politician can't do worse, or that it is impossible to do worse on the current administration. No matter how bad things get in politics, someone can make it worse. Heck, you don't even need to look at politics. Let's look at Intel. You had a guy in the helm spending money left and right, doing all kinds of construction, putting the company into greater and greater debt. And they thought, oh my God, we're losing so much money. We can't do worse than this guy. Yeah, you can. You just did. You can always do worse. You can always do worse. And this isn't a Republican versus Democratic thing. Both parties are equally capable of making any situation worse. It's not an issue of, once again, I'm breaking my no politics rule. It's not an issue of right versus left. That is a broad spectrum. There's a lot of things that fall under that, and not every person checks every single box under that. Every person is unique, and you can always find a bigger idiot. That's why it's always important to look at what they want to do, not what letter is in front of their name. We have ears. Use them. Headphones! No! I dropped my headphones! Those slid off wrong. Anyway, let's actually go over to the other side of the CPU side. Let's look at AMD and how they are advancing. By the way, there's no way in heck I'm editing that out. Me messing up my headphones. AMD is actually doing much better than they were. Now in the high-end server market, they are in fact catching up. It used to be Intel outsells AMD 9-1. Now, Intel only outsells AMD in the server market 2-1. By the by, someone in chat said the political conversation either hand completely. I don't know. Oh no, no, it's not. Nope, it's in there. People don't understand how little editing I do for this podcast. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. If I flub up so bad that it has to be edited out, I just redo the whole take. People who watch this live know this for a fact, because I want to reduce the chance I have to go and fire up a real video editor for the podcast, because it's going to turn what should be a 5 or 10 minute job and wait on the computer to work for an hour into a 2-hour job, and I don't have that time in my life. I just don't. But in any case, you look at how much this is now. AMD is now crawling up to being 1/3 of new server, and is that also desktops? Oh no, it's desktops that are now 2-1 versus 9-1. The server space is slowing down, which is, yeah, the server space not really kind of slowing down. Here we go. Here we have a graph to look at here. Now that I'm done reading things incorrectly. Oh God, why is this so zoomed in? The server market, it looks like everything is being very, very stagnant. AMD holding 23% of the market. Intel holding 76% of the market. Now, for the most part, and the other thing actually in the server world, here's what's super awkward. Do you know what the biggest component sales now is in servers? The biggest thing to go ahead and get into a server? CPUs were always, of course, one of the biggest things that concerns your platform. Of course, your storage is incredibly important, but there's a new factor for your data center servers that is now even more important than the CPU and the platform you're on. It's GPUs. This has been one of the biggest pushes that NVIDIA has been trying to do, and they're now succeeding to a massive degree. It's to the point now where GPUs are used to accelerate data transfer by using the faster RAM on the GPU as a cache, for using the GPU coprocessor to encode data, or to go ahead and handle video data through the GPU rather than having the CPU do it. Having a GPU coprocessor is incredibly common now in the data center. And this is not even including AI, where you'd have one CPU managing dozens of GPU dies. Why is the CPU market kind of staying the same in the server world because it doesn't matter whether you pick Intel or AMD. They're both equally good at accepting a GPU. And it's to the point where, yeah, Intel only has 54 cores compared to AMD's 96. Who cares? The bottleneck's the GPU anyway. We need to go and get a bigger, fatter $20,000 GPU to get better performance. The CPU doesn't matter anymore now. That's where we're at in the data center world. On the desktop space, yeah, AMD is now 2-1. I'm kind of surprised that actually 2 out of every 3 PC that's made, or 2 out of every 3 desktop made is using Intel. That's surprising. Like here, we got that graph right here. 67.8% Intel versus 32.2%. But I have to assume the 67.8 are all pre-builts. Because, God, I can't think of many people that in this day and age would build with Intel over AMD. Especially with the whole 12th and 13th gen fiasco. Ugh. Or is it 13th and 14th gen? Either way, it's just a nightmare. So it's just really surprising that, you know, people would go ahead and build Intel. Needless to say, though, AMD is also going ahead and pushing forward in the GPU market. They have, in fact, launched the RX 9060 non-XT. That is now officially out for $50 less with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. Don't buy this card. Just don't. Just don't. I just don't. I can't stress this enough. 8 gigabytes of VRAM on a GPU is not acceptable. Will you be able to game on it? Yeah. Will it be playable? Yeah. Is it gonna stutter from time to time if you try to push the computer too hard? Oh yeah. Just don't get an 8 gigabyte card. There's just all there is to it. So even though it's saving $50, just don't. It's not good for anyone. Moving on to more AMD news, though. I gotta say, do you enjoy Steam Decks? I got a little something for Steam Deck competitors that is amazing. I'd like to introduce you to the GPD Win 5. GPD Win, or rather GPD in general, makes a whole lot of various handheld and ultra portable computers. Like, they have been in like the handheld PC market since long before the Steam Deck was a thought. They have been in this game for a very, very long time, making some absolutely insane mobile gaming PC solutions that were just crazy expensive and crazy out there. And this thing right here, you're thinking, Eagle, what do you care? It's yet another Steam Deck clone that looks like a PSP. Who cares? Oh, you foolish fool. This isn't just any Steam Deck competitor. You see, the Steam Deck uses a low-powered AMD system, all right? It's good at what it does, but it's mainly focused on battery life. And then, of course, most other AMD systems, or most other, I'm sorry, not AMD systems, but most other Steam Deck competitors run Windows, or now they're running SteamOS, and they're rocking these like Ryzen X1s or Z1s and Z2s. They're rocking systems that are a bit more powerful, but are still targeted for low-powered devices, usually around 15 watts. This device is running a very special package. It is running a CPU known as Halo Strix. I'm sorry, as Strix Halo. I mixed those two up. Now, while the Steam Deck runs on a 15 watt SoC, and some of these other ones run on a 20 watt or a 25 watt SoC, just to give you an idea on how much power they consume and how powerful they are, This thing is rocking a 55 watt SoC. This thing is literally holding the power of a mid-range game console you'd plug into your TV in the palm of your hand. This sucker needs an external battery to have any prayer of any proper battery life. This thing goes, actually even shows here, from 55 watts to 75 watts. It can overclock itself. And they're not showing it here, but there is actually a recommended battery pack you plug into the back of this chonker, or you can have the additional battery pack in your pocket and a cable hooking up to the device. This thing needs 2 fans to cool itself, similar to what you'd see in a laptop. And by the way, it's not using a low-end Halo Strix CPU at all either. It is using, its official name is the AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. That is the highest end Halo Strix SoC out there. That would have the GPU equivalent of a 5060 inside of it. This is comical overkill. And I almost assure you, when this thing launches, it is going to be over $1,000. In fact, do they have the price listed? They do not. The base clock will be 3 gigahertz. It can boost up to 5.1 gigahertz. While the Steam Deck uses an RDNA 2 GPU, this is using the Radeon 8060S and RDNA 3.5 GPU with roughly what? 8 compute units on the Steam Deck, 40 compute units on the Halo Strix system. That's what, 5 times the compute units. Capable of holding up to 128 gigabytes of RAM, up to 4 terabytes of internal storage, also using M.2. This thing is insane, and also supports a mini SSD slot, which is basically a micro SD card, but not made of suck, because its bandwidth is actually extremely good. Oh, and it includes a 180 watt DC adapter, just because they want to make sure you can pull the full capability of the console while charging its 80 watt hour external battery. This thing is the hot rod of Steam Deck competitors. There's just no other way to describe this monster. I can't wait for people to test this thing out, and I'm very curious to know what the price will be. It's not going to be for me, I'll be completely honest, mostly because I really don't play. I've been realizing this. I don't play a whole lot of really high-end games on the go. I recently had like a long road trip that I was doing a favor for family. You know what I did while I was waiting for people to catch up? What I was doing on the wait? I was playing Final Fantasy 2 on my Steam Deck. Not because I had nothing, not because, oh, I couldn't do the thing I wanted to do on the Steam Deck, just because it just seemed chill. I just wanted to. It wasn't really like a restriction of the console. I just felt like it. Also wanted to see if I could make an all-caster team in that game, which is a little harder than you'd think. Mostly because Ultima is terrible. All right, one last thing before we get to the break that we're now 20 minutes over time for. More and more rumors are popping up about quite possibly one of the most exciting things to come out of Apple in a long, long time. And that is a MacBook that is going to run on an iPhone chip. We've talked about these rumors again and again about a more affordable 13-inch MacBook. And, you know, it wouldn't be all that much I/O. It would probably just be like a USB-C and maybe a MagSafe connector, maybe a headphone jack, a very bare basics laptop. But, you know, it'd run kind of low-end chip, something you'd see only in your cell phones. But it'd be enough for most tasks. And what's even crazier is how much this thing is expected to cost. The rumors say this thing could start at $599. $600? for a Mac? How did this happen? When did Apple become the company of affordable computing? I do not, how did, we'll have to see if this is true. I know the history of Apple. All right. I know this history quite well. And you do have some rare moments that, in fact, Apple does make things kind of affordable. The iPod, respectably affordable. The iPod Touch, oh my God. You used to be able to get one for $200. That's crazy. That was like a handheld computer. Apple TV, $100 for one of those things. Plug it in, bam, suddenly, smart TV, easy peasy. You do have moments of Apple being affordable. On the counterpoint, $6,000 single CPU workstation. Let's not get our hopes up too high about affordable Macs. We're going to take probably our last break here. When we come back, I want to talk about, well, we're going to be getting into it. The age verification system of YouTube and Roblox. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. All right, we're gonna quickly rapid fire through some kind of smaller stories here before we get to the big one. Roblox is coming up next, and then we got some silly stories at the end. But first, before we get to the Roblox story, I want to go over this one right here. Reddit is now going to be blocking the Internet Archive. So what they're saying is that the company says that AI companies have scraped all the data from the Wayback Machine, so it's going to limit what the Wayback Machine can access. You know what this is? They're saying that it's all because AI is scraping the Wayback Machine. So they're going to go ahead and restrict AI by making sure they are not going to let the Wayback Machine access. Oh, no. All right, you know what it actually is? First off, the notion that AI companies have scraped the Wayback Machine, so we're going to block it as like some sort of pro AI move or some anti AI move, I should say. No, that ain't it. This is twofold. One, they don't want a cheap way for people to scrape data off Reddit by going to the Wayback Machine. So they're doing that for starters, which I think is terrible. I think trying to go ahead and let the Wayback Machine do what it does best for the purposes of archiving and also calling out people trying to rewrite history is extremely important. So already on that ground, I'm against it. The other thing, AI bots are taking up so much bandwidth, they don't want to spare any for the Wayback Machine crawlers. That's really all there is to it. To be bluntly honest, that's really what push comes to shove here. Because Reddit goes ahead and charges AI companies to take their data. They don't want to give a cheap way out for something like the Wayback Machine. So no, this is not something you should praise Reddit for being a step against AI. It's not that at all. No. This is 100% Reddit being greedy. Don't let them let you think it is anything other than that. All right? It's nothing else. Keep that in mind. All right? Next up, YouTube launched their AI-based age verification system in the US, which is automatically restricting users if they guess you are under 18. Spoiler alert, it's not working great. Sorry, it's not working all that well. Plenty of adult users have said that, in fact, it detected that they were under 18 and then it needed to go through extra steps to verify that they were, in fact, over 18 so that they weren't restricted to the hellscape that is just hearing Baby Shark over and over and over again. I guess hearing Baby Shark over and over again is better than Coco Melon, right? So yeah, who could have seen it? The AI system don't work great. This is my shocked face. Look at how shocked I look. Look at all this surprise. So much surprise. So surprised. By the way, Instagram is doxing you. Just straight up. There's no other way to describe this feature. Look at this. So the new Instagram feature is supposed to let your friends know how close you are to each other. Do I need to explain why this is a bad idea? I feel like I don't need to explain this. I feel like this is self-explanatory. That anyone with a functional brain should look at this and go, yeah, your internet friends that anyone can be. Let's give out your approximate location of them. That's not going to lead to people being stalked or anything far, far worse. No. People are going to use this for good purposes, like getting me a pizza. Yeah. That's how this will end. Good things. Like, there's no other way to look at this. All right. Let's talk about Roblox. So Roblox has been pretty much the headline topic all week. Oh. And it all starts with a user by the name of, trying to make sure I got him here. Actually, don't have it here. It all starts with a content creator that goes by the name of Shep. Okay? Well, actually, it goes even before that. Let's first talk about what Roblox is. Roblox is not a game. Roblox is a massive gaming ecosystem. You have a game engine, basically, that Roblox has made, and then people keep a character that they can use in other Roblox games, and tons upon tons upon tons upon tons of other people make games for Roblox. Like, you can go on the Roblox website, like so. Here, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go over there, and we can look up all kinds of different games. You can go ahead and try to see, I don't know, something simple, like a hide and seek. And sure enough, by God, there's tons of different hide and seek games. Tons of them. You can take your Roblox character, enter any one of them at all, and boom, you're playing hide and seek. And this is an entire ecosystem intended for kids. Okay? That's the target market. And for the longest time, people have assumed, yeah, there's probably a few bad actors there, but Roblox, for whatever reason, all these years has been given the benefit of the doubt by the majority of people. Like, yeah, we're sure some less than innocent things go on there, we're sure. But for the most part, it's been considered a safe place for kids. Enter Shep. Okay? Or Schlep. I think it's Schlep. Enter Schlep. He started making content solely on trying to find people that would do bad things to children, who we're going to refer to from here on out. Oh wait, no, I already said it in the intro. So if we're going to get pulled on various podcasting platforms, it already happened. He's hunting down pedophiles. We're just going to call a spade here. All right, that is the goal. The reason he does this is because, well, when he was a kid, he had a terrible experience with something very similar on Roblox, where you got pedophiles trying to go ahead and lure kids off the Roblox platform into some other kind of messenger, like, say, Snapchat, Discord, or whatever, and then start doing, well, nothing good. We'll leave it at that. All right? That is the goal. Now, in the past, Schlep and many others like him have tried going through hunting down these pedophiles and reporting them directly to Roblox's moderation team. This seemed to have an effect, except until later on when they'd find people that they did in fact report, had them dead to rights, and provided all the information they needed in the world They'd find out later no action was done to them weeks later. So these people went a different road. They went whistleblower, meaning they would go ahead, gather the info, and instead of reporting it to Roblox moderators, they would go ahead and get in touch with law enforcement. Now, people are using the term vigilante to describe what they're doing. Technically, this isn't vigilantism at all, because vigilantism is applying your own justice and working outside the law. They're not. They're in compliance with law enforcement, and this has in fact led to 6 different known arrests until Roblox went and banned Schlep, the actual, people putting on the sting to go and catch these pedophiles. Roblox went ahead and banned them. And oh boy, nobody liked that. Nobody thought that was a good idea. Now, this is where things get fun. Because here's what you now have. You have Roblox, who went ahead, has a pedophile problem, and then no one is sure why. Why did you do this? Well, here's the amazing part. Okay? Roblox went ahead and responded to the fact that they not only banned people actively trying to go and clean up the platform because Roblox isn't doing it themselves and is complying with, law enforcement, but then also sent a cease and desist to try and get Schlep's videos exposing Roblox for all this. Try to go and get all that taken down. Roblox responded to this, going ahead and expressing the community some of their things about how Roblox has a trusted connections and accurate age estimations for how they detect their users, and have done things like renaming friends to connections, as well as also having an amazing filter for making sure that no nefarious chats can happen on the platform, because no one knows leet speak at all. No one has ever tried to bypass a censorship filter at all. Never. Trying to express the downsides of vigilantism on their own platform. Their policy for games with private spaces and communities and their own community safety council. All the moderation they do. These so-called vigilantes, who I call whistleblowers because that's closer to what they are, has exposed that not only does Roblox have a massive problem with pedophiles and bad actors on the platform, but also that Roblox profits from pedophiles. Let me explain. So, the way Roblox makes money is they use a digital currency. You've probably heard about it. You've heard of Robux before. You most likely have. And that's how everything functions. All the skins, all the updates, all the changes you can make to your character, all of which are made by third parties, developers go ahead and get a cut. That's how they make their money. Kids, of course, don't have disposable income. They get a small allowance. That's normal. Adults, on the other hand, plenty of disposable income. So it's not hard at all to go ahead and, very easily get some Roblox. $5 gets you 500. And unlike many other things in the gaming space, I might add, most cosmetics in the Roblox shop, in the marketplace, are pretty cheap. 50 cents, 15 cents, 35 cents, $1.75. Man, hey Square, can you take some notes about how the buyable cosmetics are pretty cheap and they're one of the richest gaming companies in the world? I'm just saying, $40 amount's a little insane. But in any case, you start to see the problem. Roblox appears to not only be actively profiting off pedophiles, but also is trying to go ahead and protect them by trying to shut down the people who are openly trying to get rid of them and clean up the platform. That's the look Roblox has right now. By the by, one of the things they mentioned in their 1 hour talk is that vigilantism is bad because it reveals the identity of people that they haven't gone and vetted yet, or that these vigilantes are actively trying to go ahead and lure people in to be exposed. First off, they've published how they do it. These alleged vigilantes don't actively try to lure anyone in, don't try to entrap anyone. They let the bad actors make the first move every time. That is actually extremely important. Like, we can see this in the video you filed a copyright claim to get taken down. And you're saying we need to trust you because you have the logs. We have the video. Like, I'm sorry, Roblox. This isn't a good look. It's only a matter of time until some serious action is taken and someone goes ahead and sues. Oh, wait. Someone sued the entire state of Louisiana. The Attorney General of Louisiana has, in fact, already sued Roblox for perpetuating a platform where child predators thrive, prioritizing user growth, revenue, and profits over child safety. Included in their initial lawsuit includes all the evidence that Schlepp has publicly put out, the number of arrests that already happened, and the fact that their platform is clearly not moderated at freaking all. Like, remember how I said that it's a platform of games? Remember that? People make games and you can join any one of them? Until recently, there used to be games on the platform, and of course they took this down because everyone noticed it. There was a game on there called Escape to Epstein Isle on a kids platform. I want to stress that. Not Escape From, which is also bad. Escape to. You are going the wrong way. No, Eagle, that can't be real. You made that up. You made that up. There can't be games that bad. What if I told you it was a bathroom simulator? This is currently active. There is 100% no moderation on this platform. You cannot tell me that moderators go ahead and look through these games before they're approved. There's no approval process. This is 100% done, not even by an AI. Not even AI is this stupid, because an AI would see the word Epstein and say no. Their moderation team, I swear, is one of those cup dipping storks. You know those ones, right? The ones that would just feed on momentum and just dip its little beak into a cup of water and just keep hitting it again and again and again and again. That's the moderation team there. By the by, that public bathroom simulator is listed in the court filings. And also, by the way, so is Escape to Epstein Isle, as well as many, many other absolutely atrocious things listed. And of course, Roblox responded. And yes, their response sucks. They have went ahead and said that at Roblox, we are constantly innovating safety tools and launching new safeguards. In the past year, Roblox has introduced over 40 new features to protect its youngest users and empower parents and caregivers with better controls, including updated parental controls, stricter defaults for users under 13, and new content maturity labels. I don't see any content maturity labels on public bathroom simulator, by the way. I'm just saying. Roblox has taken an industry-leading stance on age-based communication and recently introduced new age estimation technology to help confirm a user's age through a simple, quick selfie video. First off, let me tell you something. No. How much? You want to know how I know that's not correct? No age verification whatsoever. None. I just on the fly made an account as a 10-year-old. Good job. No, email address either. Yeah, that's also a big yikes. Roblox started as a platform for children, and while 64% of the user base is now 13 or over, the platform has rigorous safety features built in, and its policies are purposely stricter than those found on social networks and other user-generated content platforms. It absolutely is not. This includes rigorous text chat filters that block inappropriate language and attempt to direct users under 13 off platform for social personal information. Let me interject. We know this doesn't work because we've seen plenty of people go ahead and just use leet speech to bypass the filter. Anyone with half a brain can figure out what pen 15 means. You aren't going to look at me in the eye and tell me you have a rigorous filtering system. The one on Twitch is more robust, and it sucks. And furthermore, users under 13 cannot directly message others outside of games or experiences unless parental controls are adjusted, and direct image sharing between users is prohibited. Look, this thing goes on and on and on. I have gotten 3 bullet points in, and not a single thing they have said is true. What's wild is that pedophiles is a problem on pretty much every platform out there. Okay? It's a problem that there is no guaranteed surefire silver bullet solution for. The only thing you can do, truly the only thing you can do, is have a good moderation team in place, act swiftly on bad actors the moment they're found, and if you have enough evidence, report them to the authorities and have these people who have clearly broken the law taken care of by their own authorities. When push comes to shove, that is the bare minimum any platform can do. Like Discord is a pedophile problem, but they at least do the bare minimum to fight against it. Can they do more? Oh yeah. No question about it. But they at least put a minimum effort forward. Does this sort of thing happen on Twitch? Oh yeah. What does Twitch do? They get rid of the whisper feature. I guess slightly less than the bare minimum, but at least it's something. What has Roblox done other than claim they've done things, but there's no evidence? In fact, the only evidence that is shown here out in the open is that they're trying to protect pedophiles. I have covered so many companies making so many bad decisions, and so many bad decisions that are obviously bad decisions, not bad in hindsight like with Intel, but actual terrible decisions that anyone with a functional brain could have seen from the get-go that maybe you shouldn't be doing this. But leave it to Roblox to somehow be the one to make the worst possible decision. I just can't even. They don't even have the defense that many platforms with these kind of problems have. You want to know how most social media gets around the pedophile problem? Well, you can't use our platform unless you're 13 or older. Easy peasy done. They're not even doing that. You're just going in. You're making an account and just, well, hope nothing bad happens. It's crazy. Let's actually go ahead, for Sandy's sake, make one that is over 18. See if it goes through any steps. Nope. Yeah, no. Everything. Age 35 account. This is insane. No, we got no email. Although it did seem to ask for an email when I exited. No email, no age verification. They mentioned like a system like, oh, we use selfie video to verify age. No, you freaking don't. Stop lying. And, the best part, before you even say, well, Eagle, clearly they used your webcam, determine that was the case. I tried to both be under 13 and over 13, and it accepted no problem. Also, they can't use my webcam because only one program at a time can use my webcam, and OBS is currently using my webcam. They have no access to this camera, and this one never lit up. That one actually isn't plugged in right now either. So, no. They have no way to verify my age via a selfie video. By the way, South Florida mother also is suing Roblox and Discord. Probably does not have as much success as the whole state of Louisiana, but that's also a thing that's going to be going on. So what's going to happen to Roblox from here? You're not going to like this, okay? The state's not going to settle. Also, there's going to be more states. I almost guarantee you that more than likely the state of Texas is going to file suit. The state of California is definitely going to file suit. And there's going to be several other attorney generals that are going to file suit against Roblox. There is no way Louisiana is going to be the only one that does it. Wait, was it Louisiana or Tennessee? I can't remember. It is Louisiana. Okay. Now, I put in the title how Roblox is going to change the internet. Here's the part we're all going to hate. Here's the part that's going to make everyone hate these absolute clowns over at Roblox. And I do mean hate. What's the big popular thing that government right now wants to do? Not just in the US, but all over the world right now. What is the big popular thing to do? Big in the UK, trying to be done in the EU, already done in a couple of states here in the US. Real ID age verification to use certain sites on the internet. I am telling you this right now. This Roblox story is gaining traction, and it's gaining traction fast. And as much as I'm going to enjoy the downfall of Roblox, which is going to be really, really funny to me, it's going to be really, really sad because it is going to fast track this concept of requiring websites to store real IDs to verify user ages. It's already happening in the UK. Fortunately, some sites are being allowed to use just facial scans that hopefully are temporary, but probably aren't. But the thing is that these real ID sort of things, the only way to make sure, because I just lied twice about my age on a children's website, and if I can do it, someone with far, far, far worse intentions can do it. And that is a major, major problem. Heck, Roblox didn't even require an email. It didn't even require an email, not even a name or a general location. The only bit of real info they requested was a birth date, a thing that kids since the 1990s have been lying about to get into porn sites, of which I was definitely one of them. Come on, man. If you think for a moment this isn't going to be used by various politicians that think that real ID verification is a good idea, even though it's a massive security vulnerability and a massive identity theft nightmare waiting to happen, if you think that Roblox isn't going to be used to fast track that kind of thing into more countries and more states, it's going to happen. Roblox is going to be used as a tool to push this nonsense forward. And I hate it. I don't want to sound like the doomer here, but is there any way that a governmental body isn't going to go and jump on board this? Roblox is going to suffer immensely. The company might be doomed. I don't want to say is doomed, but it might be. It might be doomed after all is said and done. It's definitely going to take a hit. Ooh, boy, is it going to take a hit when all this is done. The problem is that I feel the rest of us, the innocent bystanders watching by, are going to end up suffering the most. And it's going to start leading to moves that are going to be a massive disaster. that's going to have far-reaching complications way outside the world of Roblox. In the meantime, let's laugh at the British. The British government have put out a new document to try and get the citizens of the UK to save water, of which one item on the document hilariously says that you need to delete your old emails to reduce data centers' water use. Okay. All right. First off, yes, data centers use water. However, the amount of water they use varies greatly, first off, on the way the data center is structured. But also, I hate to break it to you, if everyone deletes their old emails, the data center's water use is going to change exactly not at all. You see, let's go ahead and whip out everyone's favorite program in the world, MS Paint. All right. So I have here a server. Okay. You know, let's even have a lot of servers. Let's have, let's say 3 servers. All right. Over here, we have our water source. All right. Water. I don't know what they think happens. I don't know if they think that water just goes here, here, here into servers and then never leaves. I don't know if that's what they think happens, but that's not what happens. It's not like a data center consumes water. I know this is going to come as a shock to tons upon tons of people who work in the UK. Here's how the data center actually works. All right. You have the water source here. I want you to notice something. First off, we have something over here called a reservoir. Okay. This is full of water. Okay. You then have a pump that pumps water from the reservoir to each data center, each server rack. Okay. Water goes in, it cools all the servers in there, assuming they're water cooled. You might also have what's called air cooled servers in here that don't have water pumping through them, but then you have a radiator built into the door that then absorbs the heat. All right. So now you have hot water. Okay. You now have hot water. That's usually about, I will even be generous to our friends across the pond. All right. You have about 25 Celsius water here. All right. About 25 C here. Okay. Hot water comes out. Okay. And this water coming out of here is about, we'll even be really high. All right. We'll say 60 Celsius. Okay. This hot water now goes to a cooler. Okay. Now the cooler can work a number of ways. You got ones that are what are called evaporative coolers, meaning that a little bit of cold water from an outside source is sprayed onto the coils to cool them, or an air conditioner or some kind of refrigerant is pumped through the chiller to then cool it. Or if the data center is small enough, it might just be a straight up radiator that just has fans blowing through it, and it just cools it with the air. All right. So either you have a little bit of water being dripped onto it, and you're only talking like, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 gallons a day, just being finely misted on a radiator, slowly cooling it off, which then that water evaporates off the chiller, goes up into the atmosphere, comes back down as your never-ending rain in the UK. Now the water is cool. You know what happens to this cool water? It goes back into the reservoir. You notice how in most of these situations, nothing touched this. You notice how nothing's connecting here. Nothing is connecting to this. It's not like with a server, you're connecting it to a freaking cold water tap, pulling it open full bore and letting the water go down the freaking drain. There are some cooling methods in which water is lost, but it's going to come back as rain. It always does. I have never. Remember how earlier when I went on that tirade of never underestimate a politician's ability to be stupid? Never underestimate a politician's ability to be stupid. Never, ever underestimate it. Someone can always be dumber. Someone can always make it worse. That being said, though, here's something that was actually made better. A diabetic man can now produce his own insulin thanks to a new breakthrough treatment. By using a cell transplant treatment, that was done through gene editing, a diabetic man is now effectively cured of diabetes. I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm kind of stretching for a good tech topic that isn't a gaming handheld. I'm now venturing into the world of health, but hey, not gonna lie. Kind of a big deal, really. It's of course going to be a long time before this is available to anyone else. This is more done as a proof of concept. It's going to be years upon years of study to make sure that we didn't accidentally make a super Viking or anything crazy outlandish, or that they're not going to like explode as a bug bomb or something. You know, there's a lot of things you still need to go ahead and analyze that are actually possible instead of the insane things I just made up. There's going to be years upon years of study done on this. But hey, this is actually a pretty big medical advancement. Congrats. I have nothing bad to say about it. And finally, I give you the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, Beijing is advancing their robot sports. This is nothing really new. China has been pushing out their like robo sports to an insane degree. They want China has this weird inferiority complex. Like, it's actually staggering the amount of propaganda that China pumps out to make themselves seem like they are just like 100 years in the future compared to the rest of the world. And the best part is the videos they make to try and prove that they're so far advanced compared to everyone else, they're never that convincing. Like, my personal favorite was one of them trying to show a drone show that allegedly happened years ago that were fan-frickin-tastic, that were well beyond the capabilities of what we have nowadays, or them going ahead and comparing their train infrastructure, showing their best train setup compared to New York, and just trying to go ahead and be like, look how much better we are than the US. But it's laughable, the kind of game they're playing. In fact, it's so laughable, I want to show you the official website for the humanoid robot games. I want you to look at this if you have the video feed and tell me this was not made on GeoCities back in the early 90s. I have actually seen Neopets stores that are more well done than this website. It is actually staggering just how bad this looks. Like, it is literally default Times New Roman text and HTML at the top with an H1 heading, humanoid robot games portal and an H2 heading, default text across the board, a single image banner across the top that was done with, you'd swear it was just clip art, a basic HTML table. Like, I've made better websites in 5th grade. I can tell at a glance exactly how this was put together. I could put together a better website in a day. I also love at the very bottom, there is just a link that goes to, that says About Chinese. And it just links to a website called aboutchinese.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know, if you ever think that you can never amount to anything, that you think there's no point living, that there's nothing you can contribute to the world, that you think there's no point going on, just remember, someone got paid money to make this. And that amount of money was not small. And I guarantee you, no matter how much of a failure you think you are, I guarantee you, you can do better. Because this bottle of lemonade can do better. And I know you are better than a bottle of lemonade. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening, and I do encourage you to check out my other works, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon and youtube.com/EagleFalcon. Take care, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye. What I really want to know, what I really want to know, how much did this third grader make in making this website? I really do want to know what the dollar figure was. Actually, here's the better question. Was the obvious third grader who made this website, were they paid in Roblox, Robux, or V-Bucks? Oh, man. Is it bad that I prefer they're paid in V-Bucks nowadays? Ugh. I can't wait to find out that we have a massive Fortnite scandal too. Been overdue for some of that drama too. Someone in chat though did ask, did I make any websites in Magenta or Comic Sans? You know, I did make some sites in with Comic Sans back in my back when I did a web design class. That was required back then for whatever reason. Comic Sans was not a meme back then, though, in my defense. Though, then why did I even bother saying in my defense? It did not mean to use Comic Sans. You know what? No, I would make a website with Comic Sans. And when you'd ask me why, my response would be, I'll do it again. Don't tempt me.